India has adopted the parliamentary system of government wherein the executive is responsible to the legislature. It is a union of states and there are 17 states in the union. There is a legislature both at the union level and at the state level. The legislature of the union is called the parliament. Parliament of India consists of the president, the house of the people and the councils of states. The legislature at the state level consists of the governor and one or two houses. If there is one house, it is called the Legislative Assembly. If there are two houses, one is the Legislative Assembly and the other the Legislative Council. In our state, we have the Legislative Assembly and the Legislative Council. The Constitution has prescribed both the maximum and the minimum number of members that could be in a Legislative Assembly and a Legislative Council. The maximum prescribed is 500 and the minimum is 60 in the case of the Assembly. In the case of the Council, the maximum is one-third the strength of the assembly of that state and the minimum is 40. The president may be law abolish an existing legislative council in a state or create a legislative council for a state provided that the legislative assembly of the state passes a resolution to that effect. The members of the Legislative Assembly are chosen by direct election, but provision has also been made in the Constitution empowering the governor to nominate a member of the Anglo-Indian community if that community is not adequately represented and needs representation. The members of the council are partly elected and partly nominated. Seats are reserved for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in Legislative Assembly. The number of seats to be reserved will bear the same proportion to the total number of seats in the Legislative Assembly as the population of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes in respect of which seats are reserved bears to the total population of the state. One-third of the members of the Legislative Council are elected by electorates consisting of members of local authorities, one-twelfth by graduates, one-twelfth by teachers, and one-third by the members of the Legislative Assembly, and the rest are nominated by the governor. The members to be nominated consist of persons having special knowledge or practical experience in such matters as the following, namely literature, science, art, cooperative movement, and social service. The members of the Legislative Assembly are elected by a simple majority, but in the case of Legislative Council, members are chosen in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of the single transferable vote. The Legislative Assembly shall continue for 5 years from the date appointed for its first meeting unless sooner dissolved. In an emergency, the life of the Legislative Assembly may be extended beyond the period of 5 years. Before the expiration of the 5 year period of the Assembly, general elections are held to constitute the Assembly. Unlike in England, where general elections to the House of Commons are held only after the old House is dissolved. Many preliminaries have to be attended to before a general election is held. The constituents have to be delimited and the electoral rolls have to be brought up to date. The state is divided into constituencies. A constituency is a geographical compact area. Each constituency is a single member constituency now. A parliamentary constituency consists of an integral number of assembly constituencies. The number of assembly constituencies in a parliamentary constituency varies between 5 and 10. In our state, it is 8. After each census, the allocation of seats in the Lok Sabha to the states is readjusted. Upon the completion of each census, the total number of seats in the Legislative Assembly is readjusted. For this purpose, a delimitation commission is constituted. The commission is a high-powered body consisting of 3 members. Two are retired or serving judges of the Supreme Court or High Court. The third one is the Chief Election Commissioner. The commission is assisted by associate members from the states. The commission determined that our state should get one more seat in the Lok Sabha. Consequently, the seats in the Legislative Assembly were also increased by 8. The orders of the Delimitation Commission are final and cannot be questioned in a court of law. Every citizen of India who is not less than 21 years of age has a right to vote unless he is disqualified under the constitution or law on grounds of non-residence, unsoundness of mind, crime or corrupt or illegal practice. Such persons can get themselves registered as voters in the electoral roll of a constituency in which they reside. Service voters can get themselves registered in a constituent thought, though they may not be residing there. Holders of certain offices like the President of India, Vice President, Governors, Ministers, Speakers, Chairmen, etc. can similarly get registered and vote even though they may be non-residents of that constituency. Special provision has also been made to see that the names of legislatures are found in the electoral roll. A person can have his name registered in the electoral roll of only one constituency. Electoral roll are being revised often. There is intensive revision in which case enumerators visit each house and enter the names of persons who have attained the age of 21 years. There is summary revision also in which case additions and deletions etc. are made. There is provision for filling claims and objections and disposing of the same. A person whose name does not appear in the electoral roll may apply to the electoral registration officer before the last date for filling nomination or after the election is completed. The governor issues notification calling the general election.